My role as the makeup and hair designer is to kind of create the looks for the live action part of the film. And that means reading the script, collaborating with Kyle and Lindsay on kind of what they see the whole vision as. And then as the cast comes in, then we kind of, work together to create a look for them. The whole idea for the look of this was to keep it as real as possible because, we do have talking sheep and that's kind of a real stretch of the imagination. But just to have them look real and human and relatable. So it wasn't anything kind of like fantastical. It was just a real kind of like a grounding kind of process, because at some point you kind of think yourself, well, if the sheep are talking, you could probably have this crazy hair, or you could try this or do that. And you think, no, it all has to be very, very level. And so when we go into the talking sheep world, then, the audience kind of buys into that. The idea behind Lydia Harbottle's, played by Emma Thompson's look was, for me, I said to Emma, could it be that she was a bit of a punk in her day and she went to, the Polytechnic and got herself, a degree, and then she went into university. So she's got a little bit of an edge to her, hence that kind of edgy haircut. And, but again, she's quite ambitious. I think the biggest thing was also the haircut, is to get that kind of edgy haircut, because it's got a little bit of an 80s edge to it, in terms of that kind of, short sort of back and sides with a little bit, kind of heavier on top. So it was having that. And again, her makeup was, very natural, because she, again, doesn't want to necessarily show that she's spending a lot of time doing a lot of makeup, but she gets a decent haircut, once every couple of weeks or every 6 weeks or something, and then it remains like that because she's a businesswoman, so she doesn't want anything that she has to spend a lot of time on and put a lot of effort into. So basically, yeah, and she stays true to her roots. He decides how he wants to look, and whether he wants to look like a regular policeman that we see every day, or he can like have his hair just, and we kind of went through a few ideas, whether his hair was just a little bit grown out and a little bit longer. And then we kind of then decided that no, Nicholas decided he's wanted to be a policeman for a long time, and he wanted to look like a straight policeman, especially when Lydia Harbottle arrives. He needs to pull himself up, so he starts off as a little bit soft around the edges, and then by the time he's with Lydia and they're talking about, they're kind of solving the mystery, then he wants to kind of pull his look together. So then, the whole hairdressing, it's not just about the dressing and the parting, and does the parting go higher, does it go lower, does it, whatever, but it's just to kind of show a change in how he presents himself once he has, I guess, someone looking over his shoulder. Collaboration with Carl, the director, is key, because ultimately they have had this world for the longest while in their heads. They've been working on it. They've been with the production designer. They've been on all the records. They've seen the locations. They've seen all of that. So really, it's just to kind of try and harvest information from them to then create what I think would fit into the world and then kind of present it. We collaborate very, very closely. And as we progress and the actors come in, then we go back to the drawing board and think, well, this is what they're thinking and this is where we see this going, how are we feeling here? So, the creative team is usually quite tight. We have to be, just to kind of create a believable world, especially a world like Denbrook where the sheep are talking. We have to make sure we keep it grounded. I hope it'd be a legacy movie. If I'm ever a grandmother one day, I can force my grandchildren to watch it. So look at this, I did that. and yeah, just being a part of something which is entertaining. It's entertainment. It's not a message, even though it does have messages in it, great messages, but we're not kind of beating anyone over the head. It's just great to be a part of something that will be entertaining and funny. And yeah, I hope it will be really great.